No, he's a drummer. There's no strings on the drum. Oh, you have snare drum. Yes. And there are tickets to this fundraiser. The fundraiser. I remember their name.
Good evening, everyone. So here's a readout from the closed session. Item 2A, the Town Council adopted Resolution Number 2025-05 and 2025-13, both titled A Resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Paradise approving a side letter to the Memorandum of Understanding with the Paradise Police Management and Mid-Management Association. Roll call vote was unanimous. Copies of the adopted resolutions are available for public view at the town clerk's seat, and direction was given, no action was taken. So this adjourns the special meeting. So now we're going to call our regular meeting to order. If you'd please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance and stay standing for the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father God, we come before you and praise your holy name. We praise you for all the gifts you shower upon us. We praise you for this town of Paradise. It is such a beautiful place to live and to thrive. We pray that tonight's decisions we make here in the council will be pleasing to you and that it would be the right decisions for our community. And Father, we ask that you protect our first responders, the police department, the fire department, and all the others that are out there working day and night to keep us safe and to keep us warm and just providing all the services. Again, Father God, we pray for wisdom tonight and pray that things go well. In your holy name we pray. Amen. Amen.
Okay. So Melanie, roll call.
Roll call, Councilmember Bolin.
Here.
Councilmember Colleton.
Here.
Councilmember Lang. Here. Councilmember Lasan.
Here.
And Mayor Crowder.
Here. Okay, item 1E, special recognition is awarded to sworn and non-sworn police personnel and volunteers for their exemplary contributions to the department. This is by our police chief, Eric Reinbold.
Good evening, Council. Thank you for allowing us to take a few moments at the beginning of the meeting. Seems like we were just doing this not too long ago, but that's how fast a year goes by. But it's a good opportunity for us to recognize our sworn and non-sworn staff that are nominated by their peers and recognized for their hard work throughout the year. So if you don't mind, I'll turn around and face the crowd here. So first up is Officer Derek Archuleta, if you want to come up and join us. Welcome. So Officer Derek Archuleta started his career as a police officer here in Paradise with us in June of 2020. Derek was recognized early on in his career as a quick learner and a high performer. Derek is empathetic and fair. He's dedicated to serving our community, hardworking, and shows a strong desire to achieve quality at all levels. Derek has maintained high statistical performance related to arrests, report writing, proactive policing, and traffic enforcement. In this past year, among all of his other duties, keeping up on his reports, being efficient, somehow, and it must be in your nature, Derek got a little competitive and wanted to really step up his game with traffic enforcement. And with all other duties getting in the way, he managed to write over 500 traffic citations. He was the first to do that in the history of our department, and we're threatening to put the 500 Club plaque on the wall. So he'll be the first. So Derek serves our department as a field training officer and a defensive tactics instructor as well. Derek is also very involved in our community. He proactively takes time to go out and build relationships with citizens and business owners. And over the past year, Derek's been assisting with our social media, promoting the events, and our staff's involvement out in the community. So Derek was nominated and selected as Officer of the Year in 2022, and here we are again in 2024. So congratulations. All right, so next up is our Dispatcher of the Year, and this year it is Amanda Oakley. If you want to come up and join me. So again, Amanda started her career in law enforcement in our dispatch center in April of 2019. She excelled through the training program, graduated to a solo dispatcher in September of 19, and shortly thereafter was left on her own because two of the other dispatchers remaining decided to go on maternity leave. So as the PD went through some uncertainty and transitioning with dispatch services, Amanda was reclassified to a community service officer and a records clerk. She worked diligently at her new position and was pulled in a lot of different directions, but she continued to showcase her abilities. Amanda has been an integral part of the department and its rebuilding operation, and we could not have processed all the cases and paperwork without her. Her willingness to go with the flow of scheduling and assign projects has been extremely helpful and beneficial to our overall organization. Amanda has remained consistent and dedicated to our mission, and when council directed staff to reinstate dispatch services, she again was flexible, moving back to dispatch full-time, which was a big part in making that transition a success. Amanda loves dispatching, but she also loves her CSO role, and she's hopeful to return to that sometime in the near future. So thank you for your dedication and your hard work, and congratulations. All right, next up, Animal Control. Andrew Anaya was selected as our Civilian Employee of the Year. He begged me not to wear his Class A tonight, but he looks pretty sharp. So Andrew started his career in law enforcement here as an animal control officer in August of 2018. He's been dedicated to caring for the animals that come into the shelter. He's always willing to take on any project. Andrew's a hard worker, a team player, and he's always got a smile on his face, so we appreciate that. Members of the community say he's easy to approach and willing to work with them to find solutions with problem animals. Andrew is supported here by his wife and 3 children. We hear you back there. They enjoy spending time in the outdoors, and I don't know who put this here, try watching the Raiders try to win. They didn't make it very good. So we appreciate your diligence, hard work, and commitment to the town's animal control needs. You do a fantastic job, as well as the rest of the staff. I know our citizens appreciate you guys going out and dealing with the wild animals and picking up the dead ones. So congratulations. All right, next up is our Volunteer of the Year, and that is going to be Frank Dodini. If you can come on up. So I have a little more of a real bio on your history and how you came to be with us. So Frank grew up in Gridley. He graduated from UC Davis and pursued a career as a musician, songwriter, and music instructor in Southern California. In 2005, Frank and his wife Gwen moved to Paradise, where he owned a music studio from 2006 to 2015. He directed music for the Gold Nugget Day melodramas, co-produced the Paradise Idol contest, and co-founded Friends Benefiting the Ridge. These events donated proceeds from the musical productions to the local nonprofits. For the past 12 years, Frank has also recruited the talent for the Johnny Appleseed Days. As if he didn't have enough to do, in 2016, Frank joined our volunteer group. He works patrol, coordinates neighborhood watch plans, coordinates the VIPS response to local events such as Gold Nugget Days Parade and the Christmas Toy Run, and assists in training our new VIPs. Frank feels committed and privileged to do his part in rebuilding Paradise and welcoming new residents. Thank you for your service, and we appreciate all that you do. So next up is our PASH Volunteer of the Year, which is Paradise Animal Shelter Helpers. And we've talked about them a lot this year. They're a huge driving force in the success of our animal control shelter expansion and remodel. And we're here to recognize Lori Burns. So Lori's been volunteering with PASH in the animal shelter for the past 2 years. She's very passionate about giving all of our cats love and helping them build their social skills. Lori always asks what she can help with and is open to any job. She will sit with the dogs when there are no cats to play with or helping with laundry and dishes. I'm seeing a theme here. You must like cats. Lori has generously donated over 200 hours at the shelter in the past 2 years. Other volunteers have told us how welcoming she is. They appreciate her willingness to show them where things are stored and or what the cats prefer. Lori helped revise the PASH Volunteer Handbook, which had not been done in many years, and we are very lucky to have someone so dedicated to helping our shy cats come around to humans so they can find their forever homes. So thank you, Lori. We appreciate all that you do. Tony, come here. So for those of you that don't know, this is Lieutenant Anthony Boardman, and I don't have your gift here today. I'll give it to you tomorrow. But tomorrow's his last day. So 29 plus years in law enforcement. I think he deserves a round of applause for that. So Tony joined the Paradise Police Department in May of 2016. Little did he know, or anybody know, what we were about to deal with in about a year and a half from then. So going through the campfire, we all had a huge level of uncertainty. We had a lot of staff leave. And I just want to publicly thank you for never giving up. I couldn't have done it by myself. We couldn't have done it without you. And Tony, he worked really hard through all the challenges. We were down to 9 officers at one point. We were working patrol together. He worked really hard to update our dispatch center and bring our staffing level up. We're at full staffing on officers, and that's attributed to all of our hard work. Our dispatch center is back up and running 24 hours a day, and animal control finally staffed for the first time in many years. And as I mentioned before, the animal control shelter expansion and remodel is well underway. So, well earned, and I hope it's a wonderful, exciting, traveling retirement for you.
Eric, thank you very much.
Let him.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Appreciate all the support.
How many chairs?
Want him to say something?
Would you like to say something?
Well, I guess, thank you. It's been a pleasure, you know, how everything, I'm a firm believer in everything happens for a reason. So everything in my life led me to a career in law enforcement. Everything in my career led me to here. And I know sometimes I can be a little frustrating in the weeds, overcomplicating whatever, but I feel like it's been a good fit to get through all of the things to get us back to where we are. And I think that we've built a fantastic team. I can't tell you how much we appreciate the support of the town council and everyone in the town. I mean, we couldn't have done it without you. We're here for you. And our goal from November 9th of 2018 has been to build a town that is exactly what you guys want and what you need. And I hope that we've accomplished that. So,
Yes,
yeah, you're welcome for all your support. I love it. It's been great.
So congratulations to all the winners, and I'll tell you, I may be a little biased, but I think we have the best police department anywhere, and I hear it every day from our citizens, and what's even nicer, I hear it from Magalia. They want our police department, but they're not going to get them. Item 1F, campfire recovery updates and written reports are included in the agenda. Any questions for Colette?
Cleared the house, Colette.
Yeah, I have one question for Colette. Has to do with the Category 4 tree removal.
Yes.
A citizen approached me and said, I understand a lot of the trees were blown down by the latest winds and all that, and we did talk about it before, we pay per tree that comes down. The leftover funding, will that be available for additional people to apply for for Category 4? Or, I know that closed a while back, but that was the question that was posed to me. I didn't know the answer.
That is a great question. Thank you, Councilmember Lassonde. So for trees that have, blown over, come down, if that tree is still laying there on the property that was tagged and part of the program, it still can be removed through the program. So even though it has come down. Now, if it has come down and been removed by the property owner and that frees up other funding, that is not, we don't have a phase 2 of this program yet where we can go out and get more people to enroll the program. So not right now, but that is something that if at the end of this process, we see there are funds remaining, we can talk to FEMA about that, about reallocating those funds. But as of right now, no, there is no mechanism for that.
But there's a possibility that we could ask and see whether they would say
Oh,
yes.
we can always ask, and we do.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Any other questions for Colette?
I actually didn't have a question, but I just wanted to share publicly that part of that update is listing that there is going to be a public health care meeting on February 19th at 6 p.m. for an update. So if for any of you that did not read the agenda packet in your spare time, just mark that on your calendar.
Thank you. We also have an event on Facebook. You can join that, and it's going to be hybrid and in person. So it will be here in Town Hall. There also is a Teams invitation you can join virtually as well.
Okay. Next is Mark Maddox, our Public Works Director, Town Engineer. Any questions for Mark? Okay, Mark gets off easy.
We'll have plenty later, I'm sure.
Last update is from Tony Lindsay, our CDD Building and Code Enforcement Director. Any questions for Tony?
Can I ask that maybe, I know we do it this way, and I like it, this is great, but maybe once a year, each of them actually goes through their report and talks about it and stuff like that, just so we all hear it, and it's not just in this format. So, just, like every 4th month, another one does it, so, do we hear, yeah.
So one a meeting and
No.
all of them at,
No. every third month or so, one of them, Colette will do it. Then the next, 3 months
Okay.
later, Mark will do it. And then 3 months later, Tony will do it, just so we hear it verbally and it's out there.
Yeah, and I think it's good for the public to know too, that if you go to the town webpage and you pull up the agenda and you go to the items that have the little number on the side, that'll pull up these reports. So if you want to know what they're telling us, you know, you can go read it there, and that way it might prompt you to fill out a card and ask a question.
Okay. On to item 2, consent calendar. Does anybody wish to remove anything from the consent calendar?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I want to remove item 2F.
I move approval of the rest.
I second.
Motion by Bullen, seconded by Lasan. Councilmember Bullen?
Aye.
Councilmember Colleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Lang?
Aye.
Councilmember Lasan?
Aye.
Mayor Crowder?
Aye. Okay, Councilman Colleton, 2F.
Okay, the reason I pulled this off was because I just wanted to, really for the public's benefit, so that everybody could understand what we're doing here. And when I read the staff report, and I think, Mark, you've got answers here, so I'll just turn it over to you. But when I read the staff report, I read there was $700 and some odd million that we have available for a lot of different projects. And this is a $23 million, $24 million, 3-year contract to have construction management, testing, different things will be done in relation to some of these different projects, and their housing, their roads, there are all kinds of different things in there. So that's why I wanted to bring it off, and I know that I shared some of my questions with you, and you presented a great little presentation here to answer the questions that I had. Okay, you can answer them now.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember Colleton, and good evening, Council. It's my pleasure to present item 2F, which is, again, to award 3 contracts for construction management services. And my hope is this presentation will help answer some questions and really kind of give a background and summary of the type of work and the type of processes that occur in project delivery that warrants staff augmentation and ability to ensure when the town and the funding entity is paying for these projects that they are done so in a way that meets the expectations of the town and the council and the community. So with that, really quick, some context. When we deliver a capital project, it doesn't necessarily go from straight to construction very quickly. In fact, there's a lot of steps that are required as we consider projects and looking at the impacts and looking at design and any right-of-way acquisition needs, and then to construction. And then each of those phases is going to need support that has really specialty classifications that the town does not regularly employ as far as full-time employees here as a staff member of the town of Paradise. So with that, in environmental review, we look at CEQA and NEPA experts, biologists, cultural resources experts. We do a lot of historical research, and other engineers come in for the environmental impacts of a project. Design, that can include a variety of engineers, civil, geotech, transportation, surveyors. When we get to right-of-way, we can look at appraisers and utility agents and surveyors that help coordinate offer packages and things like that to make sure that the town is constructing projects on property that it has the right to do that. And then when we get to construction, it's not just about hiring the contractor to build it. We are looking for construction managers and teams to help perform materials testing services at certified laboratories. And so those are kind of just a quick background of each of those phases. And so when we look at construction management services, we like to add staff to be able to assure that we deliver the right product. And so this team helps us deliver pre-construction coordination, schedule management, payment recommendations, change order recommendations, construction inspection services, claims management, record drawings, labor compliance, public outreach, traffic management coordination. I mentioned earlier about environmental research. If there's mitigation measures required, our CM teams help us do the monitoring and making sure we follow through what we said we would do. Stormwater management, I mentioned earlier, materials testing and quality assurance. And then when it comes time to closing out the project, making sure all the claims are resolved and making sure all of the budget is accounted for. And then, of course, also with all of these funds and special grants there's a lot of funding compliance work that goes into it, whether it be prevailing wage, labor compliance again, or Section 3 when it comes to HUD. And so again, this team helps us really provide those services on a project-by-project level. So as far as who oversees construction management contracts, certainly the council, the director, or I'm sorry, the town manager and the public works director. Through there, we have an assigned project manager who oversees both the contractor and the construction management team. And this is a symbiotic relationship between both to making sure that the expectations of the community are met between the contractor and the CM team being overseen by the project manager. So to really kind of step back, and what we are looking to award tonight are essentially 3 on-call contracts. An on-call contract is a method of contracting when there is a clear need for standby services which can be procured in advance of other independent processes, and I'll get to more of that in a minute. It's really ideal for smaller organizations handling peak amounts of work at unpredictable rates, especially when we get to some of these types of funds that are being used to build these projects. We follow a very strict procurement process to do this work, and sometimes can take 6 to 8 months just to hire an engineering firm, whether to be perform CM services like this or environmental or design services that I mentioned earlier. And so, for example, these contracts are all done in procurement with the strictest federal requirements through Caltrans that go through an independent audit investigation concurrent to the review and award process here tonight by the council. So all of that work kind of leads into making sure we have people ready when these projects go to construction that we can deliver, and we're making sure that we're getting what we're paying for. So we need construction management services because we're managing numerous projects funded by FEMA, FHWA, which is Federal Highways, HUD, Housing and Urban Development through HCD, Housing and Community Development at the state level to administer those CDBG-DR funds. And then we also have funds through the California Transportation Commission and Caltrans. And so all of those things really do lead into having an on-call contract that allows us to expand our tools to meet the project and funding requirements for large-scale efforts. Last year we paved about 18 miles last fall, and so that doesn't happen on its own with just Town of Paradise employees. We have contracts like this that help us meet the needs. And again, I mentioned the special classifications, and then also the materials testing laboratories. These are state accredited laboratories that perform concrete tests, coring on asphalt to make sure we're getting the proper compaction, and subgrade test results with the nuclear gauge. So those are all specialty needs that we do not have as an organization. So as far as paying for construction management services and having an on-call contract, I apologize for the kind of clockwise approach here, but if tonight we award an on-call contract, we will have an agreed to amount method of payment with these teams for a specified rate of compensation. And so again, this really leads into having someone ready to go. We're not quite sure what the work is going to look like until these other projects come to fruition, where we have a really defined working day calendar, a 3-month project where we're going to assign 2 inspectors full-time and a resident engineer, assistant resident engineer, maybe office engineer handling some of the labor compliance work, and the like. So there are hourly rates of each of these types of classifications. That includes the fixed fee percent, the hours, or the indirect and the direct costs of that classification. That leads into a loaded billing hour rate, or hourly billing rate. And then from there, when we issue a task order, and you'll hear more about that process here shortly, that will hit the individual capital project budget for which they are working on, and then the Town of Paradise seeks reimbursement to the corresponding project as it applies. From here, what's really noteworthy about on-call contracts is we are required to establish both a term and a not-to-exceed amount. Having a not-to-exceed amount acts as a safeguard against escalating project costs, ensuring that the town is not liable for expenditures exceeding the predetermined maximum amount. It provides clear expectations to the vendor community interested in the work who are going to respond to the RFQ. It also has not-to-exceed amount are typically set using a prediction of potential value of work expected in the performance period. And that's usually established by the engineer's estimate for the contract that we're building. So if we're hiring a paving project that's $1 million, industry standard for construction management services is going to be about 15% of that $1 million. So we use that to predict what type of need we're going to have based on the town's capital budget of what we can forecast over the next 3 years. So a few more notes about the not to exceed. So again, I just mentioned using our adopted capital improvement program budget, looking at the forecasted projects, we've set a not to exceed amount for this solicitation at just about $23.5 million in aggregate amongst all 3 companies who are recommended for contracts being awarded tonight, with a performance period of 3 years with two optional 1-year extension. From what I can tell, that is, if we have positive performance and we're happy with the service, based on the needs of these contracts, we would expect to need them for the full 5. But at this point, having a good 3-year check-in on these contracts will allow us to evaluate at that time to continue working with these firms or start a different solicitation. And then I'll also note each task order we issue under the on-call agreements will have its own individual not to exceed amount. So even though we have one large amount for the aggregate over a total performance period of 5 years, each scope of work for a construction project will have its own not to exceed amount that we authorize when we're advancing a construction project. So we're seeking 3 firms because our experience over the last 5 years in capital project delivery is that relying on one firm does not add enough capacity to handle peak workloads during construction season. And so with that, we're seeking to have 3 contracts under this one solicitation that allows us to issue individual task orders using a mini request for proposal process or a mini RFP that will award those project-specific task orders at the time of delivery. So as we're moving in 2025, tomorrow we have a bid opening. If let's say these contracts were already ready and signed, tomorrow we have a bid opening for a potential $14 million project to pave a significant portion of the town this summer. We would then put out a mini RFP to these 3 firms to say who is going to propose the best team to meet the needs of these projects with site-specific issues, whether it be Clark Road, between Pearson and Wagstaff like we're forecasting this year. And so we're going to want a firm that really has a better specialty of high production areas with commercial needs that are going to be really peak type of work and public outreach and coordination. So that mini RFP process will allow us to select amongst these 3 great firms which one's the best for this individual task order. So this question, are on-call contract firms guaranteed any work or any compensation? And the answer is no. If, let's say, the council or the community decides not to do the projects that we're forecasting, and we don't issue notices to proceed on those, and we don't need the CM services, these firms are not owed anything. So certainly we're not going to do that unless there's a desire for these services to be rendered on the projects that council approves at other checkpoints. And speaking of which, this contract award does not relate to individual projects that are currently in environmental review or design. The value of those projects were used to help estimate the need of potential services for construction management. So when I look at the overall project delivery process that I mentioned earlier, all of the projects here on the left were used to kind of help us develop an estimate, and those projects still have a long way to go through environmental design, right-of-way, and construction. But we do have, as I mentioned, a lot of paving work ahead of us, and then again, as we get closer into 2026 and beyond, we'll have more capital projects for evacuation capacity or intersection at Skyway Pence being developed. So those are all things we're going to need CM services on, and this allows us to stand ready. And so when we have a project that's ready to bid and awarded by council, we can issue a task order and be ready to respond and deliver the project in these really short windows to deliver these projects. So with that, before we get to the action requested, I'll actually speak to the process in our published request for proposals under the solicitation. The agenda item itself included the full RFP and the process that we went through for selection. It included our list of 6 proposing firms. 2 of those 6 did not meet the minimum requirements and were deemed non-responsive. We had a 3-member evaluation committee who evaluated the responsive proposals. That committee scored the proposals we received on items like completeness of response, experience and qualifications, the ability to meet project timelines, their project methodology and approach, and their familiarity with experienced local, state, with local, state, and federal funding procedures. And so with that, we were really excited to move forward and recommend 3 firms, the first being Unico, second Somas, and the third being Consor. These are 3 different firms with great teams of both combined construction management services and the materials testing. We're really reliant upon the materials testing part of the contract, but again, also the construction inspection and additional resident engineers serving on these projects. With that, again, I already mentioned the financial impact. Most, if not all of these services rendered by these firms will be attributed to a grant-funded project that has other approval processes for the council. Otherwise, I would be glad to answer any questions the council member might have, or the council as a whole, and of course, the community.
So the reason I asked for this, Mark, was because, number one, in your staff report, it talked about $700 million worth of CDBG DR funding.
Do you mind if I speak to that really quick?
Yeah, do.
Okay, so on the opening sentence introducing the item, it says the Town of Paradise is currently operating a $713 million capital improvement and disaster relief program. So that number comes from our adopted budget, which includes both funded and unfunded needs. And so, for example, the sewer project is included in our CIP. But really, that number is really just a reference point that we are operating a significant funded portion of capital projects, but is really independent. That number is not dependent on anything associated with this contract. It's really just to really attribute the adopted budget with our funded and unfunded project needs, as well as documenting the need of help besides our limited staff in engineering and materials testing capabilities.
And for my pea-brain, the way that works, I mean, it's like, if you take the $700 million number, funded and unfunded projects, whatever, including everything, so then we say, okay, well, $24 million is what we would need for these services. Many of those are unfunded projects. Some of the things on the list, I mean, it's kind of like, do we have $700 million committed?
No.
Do we have the money?
So, yeah, thank you for the opportunity to clarify. So this amount for the 23.5 million, when I go back to this slide, here we go. Sorry for the quick change. So that funding amount for this contract being considered by the council is really to work on this list of projects that we identified, which are all fully funded. The sewer project, for example, the firms procured on this would not work on the sewer project. That would be a separate solicitation down the road. These projects in general are fully funded. You'll see other updates tonight where we look at future.
That's part of what caused me to ask this question.
Yep.
Because I know of some of these projects that we've talked about offline that as far as I know, I was told before, we don't have any funding for. We don't have funding for the Hillby Curve railing. We don't have funding for the bike path along Black Olive. As far as I know, there's no funding for the Elliott Nunley Road extension or the Forest Black or the Forest Service Road, those things. I know there are ideas, there are things that are on our list of, here's some things we want to do to make the town better. But last I heard, we didn't have money for those projects.
So the Town of Paradise has an adopted adopted CDBG-DR, Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Infrastructure Action Plan, which allocates out of the $200 million that we have been selected to receive for capital projects like these, distributed amongst these projects. And so the funding, the estimate that was used for the 23.5 is based on funded projects. As you will see in later update tonight on the road rehab update and potential future needs to look at the project costs of what is fully funded versus grant applications that haven't come through for like Oliver Curve pathway for one, where we've applied 4 times now and the most recent application was not successful. So you'll see that an opportunity to discuss those potential funding shortfalls and make decisions about where funding goes. But in general of this project list, There's a significant portion that is fully funded that needs these types of services if it goes forward all the way to construction. And so that's our goal, is to be ready to deliver these
And I
projects.
appreciate that. I thank you for explaining it. And that's the reason I asked, because I think to the public and to me, parts of it, you know, I didn't understand all the idea, the concept, having these guys on call, ready to go when we get the money for the paving. I mean,
Yep.
yeah, pave Clark
Yep.
Road.
Yes.
You know, pave Pearson. But,
Yes.
you know, I understand that, and I support that. I thought it was necessary. I thought it would be to everybody's benefit to have you explain it in a little more detail.
Yeah.
So
The money won't be spent until the project's approved.
The 15% on 700 and whatever million would come to $107 million in itself.
Exactly, yes.
So what am I talking, 20, I mean, we're only talking.
Yeah, yeah, I know.
We've come a long way.
What a time to be alive.
We're talking
Um,
23 million of that 107 million that would be needed for the whole.
Right, so again,
Possible.
this is not a commitment, these are the only CM services we'll ever need. No, if, you know, if a different version of the sewer project comes forward, we'll come back and need to have
Right.
services for that.
Right.
If these funds are exhausted and new projects are secured, we'll need to come back for those.
Right.
But of this project list, when we look at the previous, we have a contract currently with SOMAS, I believe a not to exceed amount that is, or the performance period is almost fully exhausted. And so as we're getting closer to paving 2025, we realize now is the time to re-look at the solicitation to make sure we're prepared for 2026 and beyond.
Correct. Yep. Thank you.
The only other question I have was, what is our oversight from your department on these, like in a construction? And the reason I ask that is because I personally have witnessed really poor performance on some of the undergrounding projects. I have seen where compaction wasn't done, and you can see the aftermath of that. So how do we know that whoever's overseeing these inspectors or doing this testing, whether they're doing compaction tests or whatever, I want to make sure that we have, that's taken care of, that we don't have road, permanent patches sinking because there was not the proper compaction done or whatever, especially on the road projects.
Absolutely. So our staff is doing everything within their power to provide the best quality service. These contracts are managed by individual project managers employed by the Town of Paradise. So there's a level of oversight there. And then, of course, I oversee the project managers who are delivering these contracts. And so I'm comfortable with the level of work and oversight on these contracts and the work being done by these firms. Of course, we could always use more staff, but we are really trying to balance, again, the staffing model of the Town of Paradise and the engineering team and permanent employees and the legacy costs that are far beyond the life of these construction projects. And so I'm confident in the excellent work this team does, and there's a lot of priorities throughout the town, and the community is very ready for a lot of them to wrap up. And so we're glad to support it as best as we possibly can, and this is one tool that helps us do that. Thank you. Thank you.
Can I move approval?
I don't know if we've opened any public comment. Anybody want to speak on this?
I move approval.
Second.
Motion by Bolin, seconded by Colleton. Councilmember Bolin?
Aye.
Councilmember Colleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Lang?
Aye.
Councilmember Lassonde?
Aye.
And Mayor Crowder?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Mark.
Item 4, public communication. For matters that are not on the council business agenda, speakers are allowed 3 minutes to address the council. Melanie, any cards?
I have a card for Carrie Max.
Sorry, I'm back. Can you hear me? Hi. Mark, I just wanted to thank you. I'm a couple months behind. They were going to pave my road, and a year or two before that, me and many people from the town had dug this trench so that the water made it to Billy Road and went down, and I just asked you if you could make sure that when they paved Posey Lane that would happen. And before they even started, they came and knocked at my door and asked me to explain what I wanted and what I felt. And they heard me, and they And they didn't do it for me, they did it because it was the right thing to do, but thank you for letting me be heard and valued and taken care of. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other cards, Melanie?
I have no other cards.
Okay.
The rezoning is item 5B. Yeah.
Okay, so, item 5, public hearings. So, 5A is hold a duly noticed and published public hearing and consider concurring with the project CEQA determination finding embodied within Planning Commission Resolution Number 202501. And is it Mark, you?
Susan?
Susan, sorry.
Thank you, Mayor Crowder. Good evening, council. Tonight's first public hearing is regarding properties on Black Olive that the town has initiated a general plan amendment and rezone for as part of the greater downtown zoning project. So specifically, it's 3 properties on Black Olive, kind of kitty corner from the town's public block there where police and fire are. It's where the old PID Corporation yard was before they built over on Clark Road. And as part of the 1994 general plan, which is the one that we still operate under, before that time, that property was zoned central business, the same as the rest of downtown. But because at the time of the 1994 general plan, PID owned and operated out of there, the zoning was updated to be community facilities. And that's a zoning typically given to public type agencies, PRPD, Town of Paradise, PID. And the uses that are allowed under that zone are pretty tight about, public kind of land uses. It's not meant for any kind of private commercial endeavors. So the request tonight, and this is the old zoning map from prior to 1984, or prior to 1994, so you can see how these properties are within that old CB zoning district. But the town would like to rezone these 3 properties, which, because we're moving from community facilities to central business, we also have to change the underlying land use designation as part of the general plan from public institutional to central commercial. And so it's a dual request on this. And so this is also coming out of all of this community engagement we've done for the downtown. This was some of the feedback, is that we have these properties here which are, the situation around it is wonderful for development, but the zoning's just not conducive to doing anything more with it than some kind of public land use. And if you'll recall, when Barry from UDA did his presentation back in November, this is one of his slides where they've identified this area under letter C there is just, a future opportunity area for continued development. And so this is definitely, there's been an eye on these properties as part of this overall downtown zoning. So the purpose of this rezone then is just to put the zoning back to what it was prior to 1994, which is central business. That means it'll be zoned the same, have the same opportunities as the rest of the downtown, opens up commercial opportunities on this on these properties. But the great thing is that the CB zoning still allows them to do some of those public land uses also that the community facilities did. But it gives it so much more opportunity to be developed. And so this is the long list of things that council's being asked of tonight, but really what it's about is adopting a resolution that would change the general plan land use designation from the public institutional to the central commercial, and then introducing the ordinance to rezone it from the community facilities to central business, and then we'll come back next month to actually vote on the rezone. And so if there was any questions from council.
No questions from the council? Okay. So, 6:50, we'll open our public hearing. Melanie, cards?
I have no cards on this item.
Anybody from the public would like to speak on it?
Come on up.
Come on.
Come on up. Yes.
So I'm just wondering who wants to go back to that, the town or the people that own it, or I'm just wondering who wants to do that?
So it was actually based on feedback that we got from the public and from stakeholder interviews, and that's really other community organizations about what else could we be doing in the downtown to help encourage development. We did notice the landowner, and a copy of that's in the packets. We didn't get a response on that. They've been noticed now 3 times about either public hearing opportunities or just what it was. But it's really, when you look at it, it's really to their benefit for the rezone. It makes the land so much more usable.
Susan, are you aware of any other organizations that want to use it under the CF designation, or is that just nothing? Okay, so there's
No,
no
sir.
opportunity there.
No.
They'll have an opportunity if it's central business.
The only interest that we've had in it was from potential developers to do multifamily. They'd have to go through the same process we're going through right now because it can't host multifamily as it is.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, 6:51, we're going to close public comment, bring it back to council.
I move approval, whatever resolution.
1 through 5, you're right.
I don't know what it is, yeah.
Second.
Motion by Bolin, seconded by Colleton. Councilmember Bolin?
Aye.
Councilmember Colleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Lang?
Aye.
Councilmember Lasson?
Aye.
And Mayor Crowder?
Aye.
Motion passes.
And what was that resolution? 2025 what?
-09.
09. Thank you.
Okay.
Ordinance number 643.
643.
Okay. Item 5B, hold a duly noticed and published public hearing and consider concurring with the project CEQA determination finding presented and considered by the Planning Commission on January 21st, 2025. Susan?
Thank you, sir. So this is really the second half of these public presentations, and this is about the proposed zoning amendments for the entirety of the downtown and the walkable downtown core. So the main focuses of the zoning amendments were really these 3 facets shown here, making sure that everybody was in agreement about where the boundaries of the walkable downtown core was, what kind of land uses did the public and the stakeholders want to see in that area, and also funneling that down even more specifically about what kind of retail even do you want to see there, and then taking all that information and seeing what we can do in our zoning code to make that vision happen, right? So it really comes down to what can we make easier in the downtown. So of course, we don't make these decisions in a vacuum. We did a lot of outreach as part of this project. We had an in-person workshop at the park on the weekend. We did a multi-week online survey for the public. As you saw in your packets, we've had many public hearings about this. We did stakeholder interviews with council, staff, other outside organizations like Rebuild Paradise, the Chamber, Tri-Counties, Moms on the Ridge, people who are really involved with the community to get feedback about what they thought for the downtown. And then we did multiple targeted mailings just to the property owners in the downtown to make sure they were engaged and aware of what was happening, and did publications on this as well. So at the November council meeting, council did give concurrence on 3 main points. One was concurrence on what the proposed boundaries would be for the walkable downtown core, and that did include those PID properties we just talked about. Concurrence was also given on the proposed zoning changes that staff showed. Again, a majority of those were just to be made easier, and there were a couple based on the feedback from the public to be proposed to be removed from the zoning. And then there was concurrence about allowing full-time food trucks and farmers markets in the downtown. If you recall, those were the top 2 vote getters from the public about what they wanted to see there. And there were 2 items you actually can't do there right now. And then another was about opening up the special outdoor events on a limited basis, just like they can occur outside of the downtown, right? 3 days in a row, up to 21 days in a calendar year, right? You can do that elsewhere in commercial, but not in the downtown right now. And again, that was a high vote getter for special events, pop-up events, things like that. So the changes coming to you tonight are really, we took the feedback we got from council in November, all the stuff from the public, packaged it up into how it's supposed to look in an ordinance and resolution to present it back. So there's been no other changes since we talked about it in November. Commission held a public hearing in January and did give a recommendation of approval for all of these changes. So these are going to be things that we saw last time. All right, these are the first two. One is the proposed boundary, and that does include those PID parcels. This map is included in the rezone ordinance to be adopted by reference, just like the zoning map is. It's not actually in the municipal code, but it's adopted by reference, so you can come to an office and see it on a wall. So same with this. I did want to note that we did have some public engagement at the January commission meeting from a landowner on Almond Street who did ask to be removed from the walkable downtown. When you look at Almond, at the very top end, they're on the right-hand side, they're the very last parcel on the right-hand side of Almond, at the top end of the red boundary. So previously, that property held a duplex. It has not been rebuilt on. Whether you take them out of the walkable downtown or you leave them in, their path to rebuilding that will be the same. It will be a public hearing in front of the Planning Commission. So,
Is it up by Elliott?
let me show you. Right here, right where this notch out is.
Oh,
Just in the
inside
red.
the red area.
It's the last red one on the right-hand
Okay.
side of Almond. So we just want to make that clear, right? If we take them out of the walkable, then the regular central business zoning district to rebuild a duplex requires a public hearing with the Planning Commission. If you leave them in and we take away the ability to rebuild a duplex, but they had one before, they can still go to the Planning Commission and ask to rebuild a non-conforming use. So we just want to let you know that that process won't change whether you leave them in or out, but we did prepare a second map so that if the council did want to take action on that request, we can use an amended map in the ordinance that excludes that parcel. And then you'll have the opportunity when we get to that point to adopt that, introduce the ordinance with the map as proposed or with that property taken out. The other part that we're looking at are the zoning changes. So again, this isn't a list of all the uses that are in the downtown. These are just the ones we're looking at changing. So the ones in this yellow-orange are the ones we're proposing to make easier. Just make them permitted. So there's no kind of special use permit for them. The ones in red are the ones that are proposed to be taken out. That's auto repair, laundry service across the entire downtown. And then there's single family and two family. So you can think of that, one house or like a duplex situation. That's proposed to be taken out of just the walkable downtown core. So if you wanted to, and that just means building, that's all you built was a house or two houses. You can still do residential in that area, but it has to be upstairs. Exactly. So we've made those notes here. That's only upstairs in the walkable downtown core. But again, I just want to make sure that we're all clear on the same point. If you had a house in the walkable downtown core at the time of the fire, you still have a path to try to get approval to rebuild it as a non-conforming use. That's a whole separate zoning thing. And that's open to anybody, anywhere. If the zoning has changed over the years, if you built your house in the 50s and it was residential and then the town incorporated, we've done a bunch of rezones and now you can't build that there anywhere, you come back and ask the Planning Commission to allow you to rebuild. We've done a handful of them since the fire. So I just want you guys to know that. So even if we say no, there's a potential path. It's discretionary. Commission can say no, and it can be appealed up to the council. Same with if we take away auto repair or we take away laundry service. I don't remember any laundry service in the downtown ever, but if we took away auto repair and laundry service and somebody in the downtown actually had an old use permit to run that kind of business, they get to go back in. That use permit protects them against things like this. So I just want to make sure that we're all clear about that. Anybody who had a use permit, they get to rebuild that, even if we change the zoning.
But they would have to go get a a non-conforming use?
Only those folks who did not have a use permit, but had that
But
use
if they had a
there.
use permit before?
Yeah, they're good to go. They can rebuild what the use permit told them they could.
So conceivably, the body shop that burnt down in this walkable
Yeah,
downtown?
if they have a use permit, they can rebuild to whatever the use permit says.
Whatever, so, okay. I have a question for you on these.
Yeah.
When you had, because I know our intent was to take industrial
Kind of land uses?
things
Yeah.
out, but we're allowing manufacturing, custom.
Oh, that's where breweries are.
That's
That's where breweries are. It's very drinking breweries.
Oh,
I'm sorry if
really?
I'm.
So, I mean, there doesn't have to be a different kind of, I mean, manufacturing is like, I could be making
It's a,
chrome,
no, it's very
something.
defined. So it's.
Okay, it is defined.
Candle shops, microbreweries. I forget what else is in there, something else,
Okay,
like
so there is
jewelry makers, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, it's very narrow in the
Good,
definition.
okay, thank you.
Yes. So again, orange and yellow, we're making easier, red we're taking out. And then also the ones that we're making easier, that is consistent with that commercial market study that was attached to your staff report about the uses that they were suggesting should be our focus in this area, so they help complement each other. And then the last part is about opening up those opportunities for temporary uses. And that's really in two different sections of the municipal code. First is in the vending licenses. That's how we get the food trucks permitted to be in the downtown. So scratching out all that text that specifically says no vending in the downtown. And the rest of it will still all apply. They can be there full-time. The other is about the temporary uses in the zoning code. And that's where we're looking to make farmers markets available year-round if they want in the downtown. And then allowing these other special outdoor events, pop-up events, specialty like craft fairs or things like that. 3 days long, no more than 21 days in a year. And that's where you can already do that kind of stuff outside the downtown. So we're just mirroring that and allowing them now in the downtown. Again, to bring people back into it. And so that's, oh, go ahead, I'm
So
sorry.
they would have to get a temporary use permit, like a food truck?
Exactly, the food truck, they don't get a temporary use permit, but that's where the food truck language is put. It refers you back to Title V to get a business license and,
But
yeah.
my
Yeah.
concern is suddenly in the walkable downtown, like, I get it when you're having a special event or something, right? When we do party in the park. and
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Me and Jose, we have some other
Yeah.
trips there. But like, what would prevent, let's say somebody builds a little restaurant in the
Okay. Mm-hmm.
downtown. And then because a food truck's allowed, he could just pull up and park across the street, right?
Yeah, if there was a neighboring parcel that wanted to host that, just like they could today, yes. Even outside the downtown, right? If there's a
But
vacant lot
only
next.
for 21 days a year.
Or you-
No, that's the special sales things. The food trucks could be year-round, just like they are
see
anywhere
that?
else in
Okay.
town.
Yeah.
And the farmers markets could be year-round, just like everywhere else in town,
That's bogus.
Okay.
right? These were
Well,
the.
We can
yes.
address that later if we,
Yeah.
If I recall, one of the top things was on there is they were looking for a food truck court in that surveys that we're doing.
Yes,
So there are
sir.
people that ask for,
Yeah, but that's a court.
that's a court, right.
But they'd have to be able to vend there all the time, right?
Yeah.
If you want that to be
Right.
Yeah, I just-
successful, yeah.
I mean, it kind of, to me, food trucks, what we're trying, the vision of a walkable downtown.
well, and we'll need to re-hit this. I mean, a food court with trucks
Yeah,
is
that-
different
yeah.
than just having them park anywhere. And we'll have to, if someone really wants to do that, we'll have to address that.
Okay. Did you, oh, I'm sorry, did you have a question?
I have a question on your map. I'm
Oh.
sorry, go ahead, Heidi.
Yeah.
So kind of along these lines of this discussion, so theoretically, as the downtown develops and say there
Mm-hmm.
are brick and mortar restaurants that pop up, we can revisit this and
Absolutely.
scale back the application of food trucks, so we don't
Yes.
have that direct competition.
You're absolutely right. Food truck
Okay.
permits are issued annually, so they do have to renew every year. They're not ongoing, like, other businesses. Yes.
So
Yes,
if you can
sir.
go back to your map on, I know there's a gentleman here that's interested in this. Willow Street, there's a lot of multifamily
Yes.
duplexes. That's
Willow's
not part
out
of the
of it.
walkable downtown.
It's not. It's
And
not.
that, for them to be there and for them to build another duplex in that area, it's all.
Exactly. So everything outside of the red still supports building a single family, two residences, or 3 or more, and that's what's called multifamily.
Okay, okay,
Yep.
very good.
And that is it. So the request for tonight is just to conduct the public hearing and introduce the ordinance that would amend Titles 5 and 17. And again, at council's pleasure, after, hearing any kind of public comment, we can swap out the boundary map to either, keep in that property on Almond Street, or we have another map that excludes it when we do that introduction.
Any other questions from the council? Okay, 7:05, we're going to open up for public comment. Any cards, Melanie?
I have a card from Vicki Smith.
Good evening. I purchased a house,
Could you pull your mask off? Is that all right? So I can hear you?
well,
It's all
I
right.
had my teeth
Okay,
removed
okay.
and they messed up, so I'm hiding
Okay.
my face. I bought the house on First Street at 822 back in 91, and it was for a rental property. And I owned it, still own the property, and now you guys are rezoning it, and what about grandfather's in rights? That, I can't afford, I have my primary house. I just got the money about 8 months ago, but I've been real sick, and so I haven't been able to do anything and with either of my properties. And I just, I don't think it's fair that you take away where I was making money off of the property, a rental. And then also, my son purchased a house or a shop from my girlfriend's cousin. They owned it for many years on the same street and it had a small house. He was going to rebuild a little house so he could move out of my house with his 2 little girls. And I went over to the brick building, and they said all it would take because before, both properties were commercial and residential. Somewhere, I heard sometime in the past, before the campfire, the zoning was changed. I never got notified at all. And my girlfriend's cousin never did. And anyway, so my son bought this shop, and then he was going to rebuild the little house that was there. Brick said all it would take is a special permit to rebuild that little house. And here I still have my son in the house with his 2 little girls because now he can't build. On the property, I was told that all it would take is a special permit on his property. And I don't feel that's fair either.
So Susan, can you maybe take her and talk to her and explain? Thank you.
Talk after this item.
Okay.
Is that the map you were talking about? Was that the
No.
property you were talking about?
Nope.
Any other cards, Melanie?
I have no other cards.
Okay. So at 7:08, we'll close the public meeting. What's the council's?
What's the ordinance number?
6:44.
Ordinance number 644?
Since my comment would be, since Susan explained so well how they can do, go to the planning commission to get approval for non-conforming use, I'd like to keep the property lines way we currently have them, because either way they get to do that. If the person decides to sell the property,
Okay.
they could then, still change that.
But let me ask this, what does it cost to do that? If I've got to go.
It's
if they
about a
leave it in
$80
lockable, And I need, and I want to build a house there.
Okay.
I own the property, and it was a house, and I got to go to the planning, is there additional cost beyond?
It's an $80 difference between
That's all.
the information that was given before this project started and doing this rezone. Exactly that. Anywhere in the downtown, if you want to build a single-family home, you'd need an administrative use permit. It doesn't have a public hearing, right? But you still need a special permit because this is primarily commercial. That's the information given. Now, if you have to go to a public hearing to get the approval, that's an $80 difference between that permit.
That's all the difference, okay.
Yes.
My question is, I mean, do you want a house in the middle of commercial too? That's going to be kind of a tough one, but I would move approval of ordinance number 644.
Second.
Motion by Bolin, seconded by Lasan. Councilmember Bolin?
Aye.
Councilmember Colleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Lang?
Aye.
Councilmember Lasan?
Aye.
And Mayor Crowder.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Susan, thank you for an excellent presentation.
Okay. Council consideration, 6A, adopt resolution number 2025-10, a resolution of the Town Council approving plan specifications estimate for the on-system road rehabilitation project. Mark?
All right, thank you, Mayor Crowder. This item before you is, again, looking to adopt the plans and specifications and estimate for our on-system road rehab project that will focus on Clark Road, one of two on-system road rehab projects scheduled for 2025. And when I say on-system, I have to apologize. I mean, on-system is designated as most likely our collectors and arterials of Paradise, our busier roads that's funded through Federal Highways Administration. So this funding and this project is born out of the 2018 Camp Fire through Emergency Relief Program funding, which we are sequencing behind the undergrounding of utilities. This will be our fourth project delivering under FHWA in the Emergency Relief Program. We're asking council to approve the plans and specs tonight, and if that does go forward, we would advertise for bid this month and look to award a contract in April with construction in July, starting in July of 2025. Our overall estimate for this project is $6.5 million. And you can see even on the financial impact where you can, our overall project budget includes a 15% set aside for construction management services, a contingency, and then it accounts towards our overall funding available. This is an actual cost program through Federal Highways. And the scope of the project is Clark Road, and I believe that's again from Pearson Road all the way up to Wagstaff.
Yes.
All right, great. Being involved in this for the last 5 years, I am really, really excited to see the transformation of Clark Road. I remember when we awarded a contract for microsurfacing, a type 3 little skim oil emulsion. And this is what Clark Road really needs. And so looking to, really excited after all of the undergrounding work to be able to present this project before council tonight and build it in 2025. So with that, I'd be glad to answer any questions.
We were excited about that skim of whatever.
Oh, yes, we were.
Yeah, we were.
I'll tell you, that was some high cotton there, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
Questions from the council for Mark?
Is this just, are you advertising it to be night work, day work? I mean, this is going to be a pretty disruptive.
Yes, and so let me look here if there's any notes about night work versus day work. At this point, I show it as day work, but it'll be something we work through on with the council and the community on about the delivery and making sure we're not impacting businesses. I know we discussed it, and I can't answer with certain at this moment, but I can get that answer before the end of the meeting.
Okay, thank you.
And Mark, this is a 2025 project, correct? Not a 25-26 project?
That's correct.
Okay.
All
Ouch,
the way to Skyway, right?
that hurt.
Any other questions for Mark? It's the council's pleasure.
Well, do you want to open up the,
Any cards on this?
I have no cards on this item.
I'll move approval.
second?
Motion by Colleton, seconded by Bolin. Councilmember Bolin?
Aye.
Councilmember Colleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Lang?
Aye.
Councilmember Lasan?
Aye.
Mayor Crowder.
Aye.
Motion passes.
I guess so to continue with Mark Maddox's show. Here an informational update relating to the town's progress for completion of FEMA and FHWA-funded campfire repairs to public roadways.
All right, thank you, Council Member or Mayor Crowder. I appreciate the opportunity to provide an overall update. as far as combining both the FEMA and the Federal Highways Administration authorizations to perform road repairs associated with the 2018 Camp Fire. As I mentioned on the previous item, we have been sequencing this work behind the undergrounding of utilities. Amongst the two funding authorizations, there's almost about $100 million in combined work associated with rehabbing every public road in Paradise. And so that work has been ongoing since 2022. We've been delivering projects since then. And again, some have overlapped between calendar years, but the goal has been tracking towards full delivery of all road rehab projects that are not tied to other capital projects by the end of 2026. So in this update, we are reporting that as of January 2025, we have completed 40.7 miles out of the 96.2. That's compared to the 25.3 back in August of 2024. Of the Phase 2 work that was awarded in 2024, we have 5.9 miles that will resume once weather permits. I'm forecasting that to be in April. And then again, for overall planning of the delivery of the remaining areas, we have 49.6 miles to go over the next 2 years. So a couple of issues that I'd like to bring to the council's attention. We have one issue associated with Deer Creek Lane and Posey Lane. Following extensive coordination between town staff and utility companies, these roads were cleared to be added to our paving list and moved ahead from spring 2025 to fall 2024. Accordingly, we proceeded with the work with Knife River Construction, and then in mid-December, we received an encroachment permit application from AT&T for their team to go forward with undergrounding in the area. So at this time, the work has been paused, and we are waiting to hear back from AT&T on a plan to move forward. We are exploring resolutions which could either avoid retrenching the roads altogether or making sure that at a minimum, if we do have to excavate into the road, that the entire road is repaved again. Obviously not something I'm pleased to report, but a factor that goes into this scale of effort of townwide repaving and all of the coordination work going forward. And so I understand that that is definitely disappointing, and I will continue to provide updates to the council accordingly. When it comes to financial impacts, you'll see a summary of both on-system and off-system road rehab. On-system, as I mentioned on the last item, is an actual cost related item. So initially we were authorized for $56.5 million. We've expended about $18.2. We've encumbered an additional $2.2 with $36 million remaining to go. We continue to work with Housing and Community Development on an issue relating to our CDBG-DR infrastructure funds as it relates to compatibility being used as our match portion. Most of these grants and most communities who go through disasters do have a local match associated with these emergency relief funds. The Town of Paradise has been able to secure CDBG-DR to really fill most of the project matches that we have obligated. With that, we were informed by HCD staff that there was an issue with compatibility of the town's environmental review for that satisfies federal highways, may not satisfy the need of HUD, even though there's two separate federal entities undergoing the same process in the National Environmental Policy Act, otherwise known as NEPA. So with that, though, we have recently been notified by HCD that under recent legislation, HR 10545, the American Relief Act of 2025, Congress approved language which likely approves a path for HCD to adopt the Federal Highways Environmental Review, so long as the actions that are proposed are substantially the same of the other provisions that HUD usually relies upon. So we're waiting for the official guidance from HCD, and we expect that here to be in the next couple of months. But at one point, this was going to be likely a very, very serious issue, but what I'm told is to be very optimistic that this will be approved, as we are not the only one that this impacts, as well as Butte County and other communities in our situation from the 2018 wildfires. Otherwise, I have a summary as well for the off-system road rehab. I'll remind the council and the community, this is different. It's not an actual cost program. It's an approved project, or I'm sorry, improved project, which means that we went through a process with FEMA to streamline the delivery as long as we accept a project cap. And what that allowed us to do, instead of looking from dig out to dig out or the linear foot of the damage where it started to the exact linear foot of where the damage ended, as a result of the fire, that we were able to apply the same road treatments that account for the whole road. And so we made a decision to move forward with the improved project, and with that accepted the risk of a potential cost increase, and that any sort of cost increase would need to be borne by the town of Paradise. At this point, and a large amount of this conversation depends on bid opening planned for Thursday, which is again a $14 million estimate on off-system roads, scheduled for delivery in 2025. But based on some of the factors we're seeing in some of our roads being in actual worse condition than when they were originally surveyed in 2020, our approach with driveway coordination and monumentation issues for these roads, we're forecasting about a $3 million shortfall on the delivery of off-system road rehab projects. With that, staff is making the recommendation to review our CDBG-DR action plan. I mentioned that earlier this evening, and we can potentially reallocate funds from other projects towards this effort to make sure that our road rehab efforts are highest priority and made whole for project delivery. So with that, that really does conclude my report. We are requesting direction from council to review all of our road projects scoped within the town CDBG-DR action plan. If directed, staff can bring forward some draft recommendations for consideration at the March meeting, where we can have more discussion about cost impacts and some of these changes, and really look at our priorities again to see if we need to make any adjustments within these budget amounts. Our goal is to deliver as many high benefit projects with as little to no impact to the town budget as possible, that achieves all of our goals. Certainly we are not looking to bring projects that have budget issues later down the road that we cannot come forward with construction. So with that, I will open for council questions on any of these items or other road related issues you might have.
I had a quick question, kind of circling back to the issue you were mentioning with the Posey Lane.
Yes.
When you say, how was it phrased? When this project was cleared by town and utilities?
Yes.
What is that? What is the clearing process? Like, is that something where in writing the utilities say we're good?
Yes. And we have that, and we've coordinated with the utility on this.
Okay.
We were informed in writing that they were good, and that's why the work proceeded. There was discussions about advancing the work. Knife River was really interested in hybrid activity, and so originally Deer Creek and Posey were scheduled for the spring, but everybody was good, and we have that in documentation. And so the decision was made at part of our weekly progress meetings to advance that work forward. And I'll mention here that all of our utility partners, and some attend and some do not, are invited to those weekly meetings where that decision was made.
When they declare in writing that they're good, is there any expansion on that? Like if you go back on this and it's all on you or anything like that?
No, not like that. And our communication really lies a lot in our spreadsheet and our forecasting, and so that goes back and forth numerous times throughout the year, and our quarterly meetings as well. And so as far as understanding and implementation standards is that once these roads are paved, our moratorium standards apply immediately. And so that's what we would look to apply here, is if you have an excavation that needs to be made in a brand new road in a neighborhood on a street wide, is that you can expect the trench restoration standard dictated by the town and standards we've adopted, that it's going to be the full roadway, especially this close to the paving.
I'm sure they're looking at boring. I'm sure that's a...
They are looking at boring as well. Design issues associated with boring are many in Paradise, especially with drainage systems and high groundwater. So we can see a couple of paths, but one of them does exist of where the road is excavated, and perhaps say one of these contracts, we can break off some work and have town forces or town contract do this work and be paid back by the utility, or paid in front for the project costs.
So you said in your report that the roads are worse off now than they were in 2020. I mean, no duh.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
with all the trenching and everything we're doing, and we're just beating those roads to death, with all that's going on. They're going to continue to get worse. Does that mean that as we move forward, the numbers are going to get worse for us on that because of the wear and tear?
I think when we forecast the potential shortfall, we're using experience in the actual bidding numbers that we're seeing with some escalation. We've made our adjustments on the treatment types.
Okay.
When we really set out to start this work, we were looking at more dig-outs and overlays, and you've seen a lot of our roads have switched to pulverization and incorporating full-depth reclamation, adding cement, and that ability is afforded to us by the improved project status.
Right.
And so we've actually been able to prove from a financial perspective, if the percent of the roadway that needed dig-outs before, we estimated if 20% of the road needed dig-outs before, a good idea would be to do FDR and just chew the whole road up.
Right.
Really, that break-even number is somewhere between 7 and 12%, because if we can do this all at once, with one mobilization, have a clean road, we're getting a better product with less impact to the community. So that's our overall goal, and those adjustments in our forecasts and estimates have been made based on what we're seeing, the true need of the road today.
And that is a cement mixture, or is it a lime mixture?
Cement.
It is cement.
Some are just straight pulverized and recompacted based on the road, but our arterials are more FDRC with the cement incorporated.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Who dug into this road and tore it up?
No one's dug into the road and tore it up yet.
Or who's going to? What utility, I mean,
Yeah,
why does
potentially.
it have to be done?
Potentially AT&T, but we're working with them to work through the solutions. And so certainly we strive for 100% perfection on a program like this. Unfortunately, this falls outside of that. I really do wish this could have been avoided, and I look forward to presenting more information to the council when we have a solution that works for everyone.
My only cautionary thing is that I watched what some of the subcontractors for both AT&T and what they're doing, and there's a couple of them that are not doing a very good job.
Well, as always, please do let me know of specifics where we can send out teams to follow up. That would be great. I have to apologize to the council. I can't believe I almost made it through this road rehab update without showing you our most current version of the road rehabilitation map. And so for those here in the room or watching from home, if you visit townofparadise.com.
Don't tease us now.
What was that?
I said, don't tease us now.
Okay. So, and watch the website. Okay, here we go. All right, under news and announcements, you will always find a link to our roadway repaving map. Here is a Google map, one more click, and you're here. So this is a map that, again, has been a fluid map that we've updated with the most accurate current information based on what we're predicting. That combines the road rehabilitation efforts by the town through FEMA and federal highways, as well as other projects that we're forecasting to come forward. So here in green, we've changed all the roads that have been completed. So you can see much more green throughout town, which is great. Even updating our 24-25 phase 1 under as complete, and you can see which roads remain. So I'll go ahead and turn off the layers of roads that remain. So I'd say, as you saw by our numbers, we're about 50% of the way done. And so this, if I turn off, this is the spring work that I'm flashing here. And then if I turn that off and then look at the flashing work here, that's what we plan to complete in 2025. And then this work that I'm flashing here is what we plan to complete in 2026. And then last, it's important to highlight Pence Road, which again, we're monitoring as far as making sure the road lasts long enough to reach repaving. So Pence Road's on the radar. You saw we were able to do some dig outs on Neal Road similarly. So these roads are ones that we're forecasting that are being leveraged with other funds, where we're doing our best to make sure that when we build a bike path and we add a turn lane and we pave it, it's using the best of all of these funding sources, so we're not duplicating work or leaving funds on the table in delivering these projects. And so we're forecasting Pence and Neal to be in 2028, and Skyway between Billy and Wagstaff, which is forecasted for a turn lane, sidewalks, and a bike path, to be in 2027. But again, for Pence in particular, I can definitely see a need for dig outs that'll get us there to 2028.
What are you doing, Pearson?
Pearson, as far as between Clark and Skyway, so that'll be a part of the 2025 project that comes forward this year. Yes. So the item before this, council approved, was Clark Road between Pearson, this segment, all the way up to the old movie theater.
It is big.
So more to come.
Thanks for showing that. I didn't know how to
yes.
get to that, so that's good to.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of statistics on town websites, but I can share with you right here. This says this page has been viewed 102,000 times.
Really?
Yes.
Well, that makes me feel small.
So, yep. No, that's not true. Okay. I didn't want to commit to night work without being 100% certain on the prior item, and yes, Clark Road is forecasted for night work, and I apologize for that.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. With that, I'd be glad to answer any other questions.
Any more questions for Mark?
No, good job, Mark. I had some questions when I read your report and the staff in the agenda packet.
Thank you.
You answered them all, and I appreciate that. I appreciate the job you're doing. It ain't easy, man. You're gonna have gray hair before you're old.
Oh, thank you.
As long as he has hair, would he?
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Do I hear a motion?
There's nothing we need to do on this. It's just information, right?
Yeah.
Just, oh, you need a vote?
No vote necessary.
Yeah,
It was
that's what I
just to
thought.
provide direction on reviewing the
Okay.
town's action plan coming up.
Right.
Okay. 6C, consider adopting 2 council members to serve on a facilities ad hoc committee to review and advise on next steps relating to Town of Paradise's overall facilities.
I'd like to be on that committee.
I'd like to be on that.
I'd like to be on that. I said it first.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it does.
I'm the oldest here. Seniority rules. I have years of wisdom.
So it's,
Be interested in doing that.
Do you want me to speak to it at all? Okay. I can give a quick little introduction. As a result of the 2018 Camp Fire, the Town of Paradise lost 5 owned municipal structures: Fire Station 83 that used to be located on Wagstaff Road, our Public Works Corporation Yard, a Quonset hut, the Pence Road residence, which was planned for a future fire station at one point, and then the Jeffords Building on Black Olive Drive. Since the 2018 Camp Fire, we've been working tirelessly with various staff, consultants, and legal teams to reach a settlement. At this time, we are pleased to report progress in that vein, and we are looking to the council to appoint 2 council members to serve on an overall facilities ad hoc committee. And the purpose of this committee would be to review and advise on next steps relating to our overall facilities plan, as well as facilities replacement needs resulting from the fire. A potential work plan of the committee will include an overview of existing facilities in conjunction with reviewing departmental needs. At this time, there's no financial impacts, and willing to support the direction from the council to kick this off.
Well, I want to be on that committee, and the reason I want to be on the committee is because I've been on the council a long time. And I know the history of the town, because I was here part of some of that, a lot of that. And I've been in the construction field for a number of years in the past. And I'm familiar with the vision of the future of the town. So I just think that I'm pretty well qualified to be on that committee, and that's why I'd like to be on it.
I too would like to be on the committee, and I have had experience in construction in my military life. And I've worked with lots of organizations and such to prioritize the needs of an organization. So I think I can do a good job with respecting what Councilman Culliton said about his experience. I think I can do just as good a job based on my past experience in other organizations.
I think we can take you 2 outside and just have you fight it out, but
Taller than me.
it's kind of,
Arm wrestle right here.
yeah, no, it's my wheelhouse, so I'd like to be there, but, so it's your guys' decision, but that's kind of where it's where I live.
You know, I think there's, I appreciate what Ron says, there's military experience a lot. My experience is in the town of Paradise. It's in this community. I know why we have the town hall closed on Fridays. I know why some of the things that we do. I know why we talked about where the whole idea of moving the public works yard came from. because of policies we had in the early 80s. So anyway, it's a committee I'd like to be on. I think that I can be open-minded. I think I'd be cooperative. And I just think that the historical value of the town of Paradise that I can bring to the committee, I think would be beneficial to the decisions that have to be made. So that's.
I'm not disagreeing with any of that, you're going to be busy with a lot of the negotiations too, so just throwing that out there. You are going to be busy with the negotiations too.
Your vice mayor, you're going to be on the...
Quite a bit of that, I'm just throwing it out there as you are going to be, that is going to be a lot of work. And I've done it before, so,
No, yeah, and I've done that before.
I know, I'm just throwing it out there.
They're different things. This is not,
Okay,
I mean, the negotiating thing is going to be a short.
council decision, I'm just throwing it out there that it's going to be busy for you.
I'll defer to your viewpoint and leave like that.
No, I'm not picking that, that's the council's decision, you guys.
Why not? How's that for ego?
You're my viewpoint.
You're the mayor, so figure it out. Get paid the big bucks.
Okay, where are the straws? Well, I mean, bring it to a vote from the council. I don't want to pick them either. I think we all should, and I didn't even get a chance to complicate it and say I wanted to be on, and I'm not going to do that now, so, I don't know, I first like to see the two of you work it out. Yeah, arm wrestle is fine.
What? It takes two people. I'm not going to give it up. I'm going to do it.
Then I guess let the council vote on it.
Motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve Greg and Woody as the representatives.
Second.
Councilmember Bolin?
Aye.
Councilmember Colleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Lang?
Aye.
Councilmember Lasan?
No.
Mayor Crowder?
Aye.
Sorry, that was an aye? That was a yes?
Aye.
Yes, okay, thank you.
Or nine.
That was fun.
6D, consider authorizing the town manager to issue advance payment for previously town council approved purchase of Pierce Type 3 fire engine. Mark?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Crowder. A brief recap, on August 17th, 2023, Paradise Town Council approved the purchase of a Type 3 Pierce fire engine. The needs of the Type 3 engine are specifically designed for use in wildland urban interface setting, carrying loads or tools and equipment to fight fires on and off-road. So that's really, when you picture Type 3, something that can go off the pavement and do its job. So with that, council approved the purchase. We had anticipated including it in our 24-25 budget and our 25-26 budget. The purchase price, or the quoted purchase price, was $630,000, and we approved a minor loose equipment needs budget for $30,000. This was approved using Measure V funds, again for 24-25 and 25-26. In the 24-25 budget process, the approval of the off-cycle purchase of the engine was inadvertently omitted, however. The engine order was placed, and payment is not required until 15 days before taking possession of the engine. So our engine is still on order. After staff confirmed that the order is still active, Golden State Fire Apparatus offered the town of Paradise its discount for 100% prepayment. Usually this is only offered at the time of order, but it still stands. And this discount, if we do prepay for the engine, would discount the purchase price by $28,827, with a revised purchase price of $599,397.89. Staff is recommending council authorize prepayment of the fire engine. The revised quoted purchase price of the Type 3, again, is just shy of $600,000 with that discount, and we are proposing utilizing Measure V ending fund balance to cash flow the purchase. And a reduction in budget items will replenish the Measure V ending fund balance in the 25-26 budget, as well as the 26-27 Measure V funds will be utilized to fund the 30,000 engine loose equipment needs. Again, Measure C initially established the 0.5% six-year temporary transaction use tax, and that expired on March of 2021 and was replaced and extended through Measure V. And the primary uses of Measure V funds have been to support the town's police, fire, public works, and animal control services. If approved by council, payment for the engine would be made immediately. So we are still forecasted, I believe, for a delivery date, is Jason still here, the end of next year? The fall of 26, that's correct.
Is that concerning one that they're asking for full payment right now?
Oh, so they're not
Financially,
asking,
they're okay.
they're offering the discount, the 30,000 discount if we want to make full payment. If we don't want to take them up on this discount, we will just be required to make payment at the time of 15 days in advance of delivery.
No, I think it's a good deal, but I'm just saying financially, they're okay. They're not.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Usually when you're hurt for money, you ask for.
Yeah.
What if we take $600,000? I mean, if it's not until the fall of '26, what kind of, can we get interest on it? Can we invest that money?
Not that much. Not that much.
And make more money? No? I mean, it's a question.
Yeah.
I'm not a numbers guy.
Yep.
Amy would know.
So we have one coming this year, I believe. Is that correct, that we did the exact same thing on? We prepaid it, and I thought it was going to be here already, but.
So this one is the one that's coming the soonest, and then we also approved a Type 1, I believe, that is further out. This fall. Oh, there, I'm sorry. Jason, do you want to come forward? I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, I'm a little confused then, because we did this at least 3 years ago.
Oh, this was done in August of 2023. And so this is the delivery of that engine from a year and a half ago.
Okay.
Yep.
So we're paying for another one now.
No, this is the payment of that one.
I think we're confusing the Type 1 engine that we're still waiting on, that we've pre-purchased, with this Type 3 engine that we will now pre-purchase. So I think Jason can comment on that.
Yep.
There was two purchases, the one
Yep.
that Mark's speaking of now, which is the Type 3 that'll be here in the fall of '26, and then 82, which I believe was purchased in '22, I believe, and was
Yep.
prepaid as well. So the prepayment, it's not required, it's just, it was cost savings that came about, and we figured it'd be a good opportunity to save the town some money, so. There is a bond, it's called a performance bond, so if, God forbid, Pierce Fire Engines goes bankrupt, that performance bond comes into play and covers that cost. So
Okay.
the money is insured, if you will. I don't know about investing the money, if that would be better
Yeah, but I
for.
mean, we're gonna get $28,000 to prepay.
Yeah, it's about a 5% savings.
So, I mean, if that's the best deal, and I agree, that's a good deal, but I mean, I don't know, if you know, I put a little $100,000, and I made $7,000 on it, so, you know, $600,000.
How much do we make on $600,000 in that time period? Based on the fact that we're not allowed to invest in speculative things.
I'll say it like a true legal person or financial person, it depends.
Well,
It depends on the current market. I can't give you those numbers and tell you that I'm absolutely sure. I think it's a good idea to prepay.
Our best investment-
Because our 4% right now,
Right.
it was 5% a few months ago. So, you know, tariffs, all the other things that are happening right now, I can't guarantee anything right now. I think it's a good deal. I think we should knock it out and move on with
Yeah,
it. Because
me
if we're
too.
not paying it now, we're going to pay it later.
Yep.
Yeah, no, and that's what I do too.
So personally, I take advantage of it now.
We don't do much better than 4.5% on our investments, so even if we broke even, it's a better thing, I think, for us to do, so.
Okay.
Thanks, Amy.
You're gonna open the public?
Do we have any cards on this?
I have no cards on this item.
Move approval?
Second.
Motion by Bolin, seconded by Colleton. Councilmember Bolin?
Aye.
Councilmember Colleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Lang?
Aye.
Councilmember Lasan?
Aye.
Mayor Crowder?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, let's see what excitement we can generate with this. Consider appointing 2 members of the town council to serve as an ad hoc CAL FIRE contract negotiating committee.
Got it.
For your enjoyment, council, we are looking to provide another opportunity to serve on an ad hoc committee for working with staff. We have our fire contract that will expire at the end of June. We need to renegotiate that contract. Staff is asking for 2 of you to work with the finance director and me, working with CAL FIRE to negotiate the terms of that contract going forward, probably for another 4-year term. So we would like your help.
I don't need it. I will do it, but I don't need it if someone else is really.
I'd like to do it.
Okay. Someone else want to do it? Okay, there you go. There you go.
And we don't, I'm sure we don't have any cards on this,
I have no cards on this
Okay.
item.
so. Roll call vote? Do I need a motion?
I move that Councilman, or Mayor Crowder and I are assigned this task to do.
Second.
Motion by Lasan, seconded by Bolin. Councilmember Bolin?
Aye.
Councilmember Colleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Lang?
Aye.
Councilmember Lasan?
I guess I can't vote no, so aye.
Mayor Crowder?
You can't.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Well, that wasn't
Be
quite as
consistent.
fun as the first vote, but. Okay, 6F, waive second reading of the entire town ordinance number 641 and approve reading by title only. This is Mark?
Surprise, it's me, actually.
Colette? Okay.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Crowder and council. So this item tonight is the potential final step to join Pioneer Energy. This is a community choice aggregation JPA, which would potentially reduce cost for energy for our residents. So you have heard from Pioneer Energy in the past for several council meetings, giving presentations about their organization and how they save money in different communities. And so we did agree to go through a study with them to see if there would be potential savings in the future for Paradise residents. That study came back indicating that there would be savings. And so at the January 2025 meeting, council did have the first reading of an ordinance to join this JPA. So that was the first step. Tonight would be the second step, which is the second reading of that ordinance, as well as the approval of a resolution to join that JPA. So we did get some additional information based on council's questions at our last meeting regarding solar status. And we did check with PG&E and we did find that the CPUC oversees this. PG&E follows the CPUC regulation, and that yes, solar status remains with the resident whether they opt in or out of the Pioneer Energy program. So that documentation was provided to us. We can share that with you. I think it may have already been shared with council, but we did receive that in writing from PG&E. And so we also were asked about opt-in rates, and we found that in Grass Valley and Nevada City, which are some of their more recent joiners of their JPA, year over year, they have a 97% opt-in or remaining in rate. And overall, for all of the communities which are taking part in this JPA, they're at 85%. So that is their current status. So tonight, you can see you have the second reading of the ordinance and potentially approving that resolution to make that final step to join the JPA. And again, this would not actually take place until 2027. So we would just be setting this up in place, and then this would actually happen a few years from now. So with that, happy to answer any questions you may have. We also have a representative from Pioneer Energy here tonight. Jake Trumbull is here to answer any questions as well.
So I believe County, Chico, Orville are all on their second reading also?
Correct, yes.
Okay. All right. So it sounds like it's all heading the same direction for the whole county?
In this region, yes, absolutely.
Okay.
I have a question, probably for Pioneer to answer. So is there an idea of what the average customer is going to save? Is it going to be just like the town, 10%? What would that be?
I think that is a great question for Pioneer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Crowder. Good to speak to you all this fine evening. We cannot speak exactly to what the savings will be for the town in 2027 when service would start. We are seeing an average of 10% across our jurisdiction for this year in savings on the generation portion of the bill, and an upwards of 24% for participants in Grass Valley and Nevada City for this year.
24%, did you say?
24% on the generation portion of their bill, so to clarify.
Was that because a lot of water's going through the plant or something, or?
What does that mean?
So, that does not include the transmission and the.
Right.
It's just the generation part.
Right.
Yeah. It doesn't have as much to do in terms of water coming through that region necessarily. Actually, a lot of that effect has to do with the PCIA, the power charge indifference adjustment, which changes year over year. And for that vintage year of 2024, it is very favorable for that jurisdiction. We see a variation in that. That's why, there's a difference in savings between certain counties based on when they join. So Paradises and other communities they're in, when they join, they will be a part of the 2027 vintage year, of which we do not know what the PCIA will be at this time, which is why we can't exactly determine what savings will be.
Okay.
The PCIA?
Yes, sir.
What is that?
The power charge indifference adjustment, it is a, here's where PG&E and power gets a little complicated, but it's a fee that it's a tariff essentially that PG&E enacts for all in relation to it's like an offset for the power they have purchased in long-term contracts for areas that now are served by other CCAs. It's a way for them to try to make some of their money back.
So I did a little bit of research on this thing. First of all, it's not you guys, but when I found out I voted for this thing the last time, and I know it's the state of California that has imposed this, there's something inherently wrong to my way of thinking and my beliefs that I could sit up here and make a decision that would tell you where you got to buy your power. I just, there's something morally wrong with that. I understand the state's the one that created that, not you guys. The fact that you can offer us discounts on electricity is a good thing, and many of us need that because we have really high PG&E bills. The solar I was able to put on my house when I rebuilt, I don't pay for electricity, so I'm not going to be a customer. But some of the things I learned in looking into this, we were told, well, you can opt out. And naturally I will. Where I work at, the facility I work at, I would probably opt in because of the savings. The town would realize some tremendous savings. The opt-out thing is because of the state saying, now I'm your customer. There'd be this window. And when I did the research, say, okay, if I don't opt out during those 60 days before this goes into effect, before I become your customer, if I don't do that in that window, and now I'm your customer, and the day two, I say, wait, I don't want to be your customer, I'm opting out, I can go back to PG&E, but at a different rate. That doesn't have anything to do with my solar. It just means that I will go for a transitional rate for 6 months. This is the way this whole, and I just want the public to totally understand that. Because when this happens in 2027, I won't get, I live with this. I won't get a text message on this or that. I'll get something in the mail from somebody. By 2027, I will have forgotten about Pioneer Electric. And it'll probably be like a lot of the other things I get from the casinos and whatever that I may just toss in the recycling bin, So I just want to make sure that as this goes on, because the other half of that is as a decision maker sitting up here, I want to make sure that our community and our citizens have all of the advantages that are available to them. And CCAs are an advantage to a lot of jurisdictions. But I just want to make sure, and you know, I mean, I'm really conflicted about how to vote this second time, you know, because of those things. I just want to make sure that, you know, if you're going to have to let people know exactly, because it's not fair if I'm forced to be a Pioneer customer and then don't want to be, that I have to pay 6 months of a higher rate for electricity.
Councilmember Colleton, I would like to make just address that issue. I think that's really important to note that there is such a delay between this decision tonight and when this would be enacted. And so it is my understanding that Pioneer would undergo a lot of community outreach to make sure they are aware. The town would as well. So that is something that we would be working with Pioneer on to make sure that it is very widely known in the community that this is happening and what they need to do if they need to opt out.
Absolutely. We don't want to sneak up on anybody. So we're going to be out in the community.
And I didn't mean to imply that. I just meant
Absolutely not,
when, because, you know, we've been told by you folks right away when we ask these questions, oh, no, you can opt out. You know, I mean, the state mandates that when you use CCAs, when jurisdiction joins, that's the deal. Everybody's in, you know, so we're making a decision on behalf of our community, which would hopefully be a benefit to our community. I have friends that are telling me about their $700, $800 PG&E bills. You know, a 10% reduction would be significant.
Absolutely.
You know, you go out to dinner. You
Absolutely.
know. So I mean, you know,
In a
I'm
new
not
downtown.
opposed to the idea or anything, but it's just when you look in the weeds, suddenly there's some things that the average person, especially people in my age group, we don't pay attention to that stuff, and we may miss all that. So, you know.
I would like to add to that, the TBCC, the transitional rate that PG&E could put you on if you would choose to opt out. That only applies to customers that would like to opt out after the 60-day period and before I believe it's I don't want to speak too far out of turn, but a 3 to 6 month waiting period for PG&E to buy the power necessary to be able to fold the customer into their normal rate. So that cost can be avoided by customers who are willing to wait in service a little bit longer as well. And to touch on it as well, to your solar and NEM point, I do want to reiterate that Pioneer does pay an extra half cent to net surplus generators. So if you're on the NEM rate plan right now and you remain a net generator on your solar property, you would receive an extra half cent towards that net surface, NSC, excuse me.
Okay.
So just to clarify, if the customers opt out within the 60-day window, they return to the same rate?
Correct, absolutely.
Yeah.
We beat this one up enough?
That was my only question.
Are we ready?
Yep.
Yeah, is anyone in the cards?
Any cards on this?
I have no cards on this.
I move approval.
I'll second that.
Motion by Bolin, seconded by Lang. Councilmember Bolin?
Aye.
Councilmember Colleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Lang?
Aye.
Councilmember Lasan?
Aye.
And Mayor Crowder?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you for your time, Council.
Thank you.
Okay, 6G, consider adopting Resolution 2025-12, a resolution of the Town Council of Paradise declaring an emergency and authorizing repair or replacement of the Billy Road at Olympia Way 18-inch culvert. Mark?
All right, thank you, Mayor Crowder. As you are probably aware, Billy Road is currently closed between Lucky John and Fern Lane. During the heavy storm conditions last week, we discovered a culvert failure along Billy Road at Olympia, where a major tributary to Honey Run is located. Upon further inspection, we found that 2 undersized culverts were causing significant flooding and potential for erosion underneath the roadway. After doing some testing and using probes to find out how the road was faring, we made the decision to close the road indefinitely. And after further testing, we confirmed that there are large voids underneath the road to where if a garbage truck, fire engine, heavy vehicle, the roadway could collapse. So with that, we made sure the road was adequately conveyed as closed until further notice. There are some photos of the existing condition and the agenda item here before you. We are recommending council declare an emergency to repair and replace the culverts. This declaration is critical to shorten the amount of time for our project delivery process so that we can do that work immediately. We are looking to replace the existing culverts to protect life and property should an emergency occur. Whether it be an evacuation or additional flooding, we need to make sure this issue is addressed. Using this action, staff can forego the formal design, competitive bidding, and construction process, which would take at least 6 to 12 months. The cost of the repairs and replacements based on similar scenarios was $500,000. This project area was identified in our storm drain master plan that was completed in 2022, that these culverts do need to be upsized to 24 inches each. So with that, we are, that $500,000 estimate is part of a system of needs in the whole area. We are trying to just address the culverts underneath the road. The drainage systems upstream are on private property, and so the overall estimate to address those includes acquisitions and upsizing and working uphill. Obviously, we can't do that on an emergency on private property, but we can alleviate the flooding and hazardous risk of having the road closed and alleviating the issue of a potential collapse. So with that, we have started to work with Visinoni, who has done emergency repairs for the town before, most recently on Stearns Road. At this point, they're quoting a replacement price of about $70,000 for just those culverts to be removed, replaced. We have an active stream that needs to be mitigated as well, and they're very well prepared and experienced in doing that. So with that, if council is able to approve moving forward, we anticipate getting to work on this project as soon as tomorrow morning. This is critical for us to get open as soon as possible, and I'm confident that we can certainly have it done within the next week or two if the approval of the emergency declaration moves forward. Otherwise, I'd be glad to answer any other questions the council might have on this item.
Have you been on site there?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so you know that it does start up road quite a bit.
It does.
That's a weird piece of property that has a lot of problems.
It is.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
So they're gonna come up with a basin in which it goes in this culvert to take it out for now until we can move forward and go up
Correct.
hill and, okay.
Yep, it'll be the first piece to solve the greater problem.
Perfect. Perfect.
We
Good.
do have funding in line for other storm drain projects we've talked about. The town has been recently awarded, and this is on our project list as well.
And you probably said it, but this is upsized from what to what?
18 to 24.
And is that going to be enough, Mark? 24?
That's what the storm drain master plan recommended after our analysis.
And when did this happen?
This happened last Wednesday, I believe.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just going to ask this question, because when we have something like that where it's a pretty significant road, right? And why can't we call a special meeting to approve something like this if it's an emergency? Because you're going to get rain now, so I mean, maybe they can go work in the rain, but,
Yep.
you know, it's going to compound trying to fix a flooding problem with the next 2 days of rain. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, I don't have any problem as an elected official showing up on the spur of the moment to award something like this if it's going to make our town safer. I'm throwing that out there, and how the rest of my colleagues feel.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Certainly, landing it on the agenda the day that we found out was the day the agenda was going out, and the time it takes to procure the materials. This worked out really nicely to have it here tonight, but I appreciate the willingness to do a special
Well, yeah,
meeting.
I mean, if we have emergencies in this community,
Yep.
let's deal with it, you
Yep.
know? I mean,
This is resolution number 2025-12.
-12.
Can I move approval? Is that all right?
Yes.
Thank you. I'll move approval.
Second.
Sorry, who seconded? Lassonde. Motion by Bolin, seconded by Lassonde. Councilmember Bolin?
Aye.
Councilmember Colleton?
aye.
Councilmember Lang?
Aye.
Councilmember Lassonde?
Aye.
And Mayor Crowder?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, council initiate items and reports. I don't believe we have any initiated council items, so item 7B, council reports on committee representation. Greg?
I was sick most of this last month, so I I was out of commission, but I did go to LAFCO. Good meeting, and it does sound like, I guess I can say this, PID has shown no interest and is not interested in dealing with Tuscan down the hill, that development, so that's good. As far as I'm concerned, that's very good. We don't want that to happen, but anyway, nothing really to report other than that. There's nothing else that really affected Paradise.
What did you say about that development down there?
PID is not interested in
Good.
servicing water there, so I think that,
I think that's.
yeah, I think that's a good thing.
Heidi?
I had all kinds of stuff in the last month. I don't know if any of you guys have had the opportunity to participate in any of the neighbor-to-neighbor events, but I would highly recommend that. I was able to participate in their watercolor painting and in the fruit tree pruning clinic. It's a really great grant that PRPD has shared with our community. And then I was able to attend the CRC meeting after the last council meeting and the POSD board meeting. And we have a new organization up here on the ridge through POSD. It is the, let me see if I can, it is the Health and Wellness Resource Center for the Upper Ridge, which has been a really neat program that they put together through a community grant. And it offers a lot of different resources for students and their family, both in the Paradise and Magalia communities. And then I was able to attend the Upper Ridge Community Council meeting up in Magalia. And and then our sewer committee meeting, and then the COC meeting, the community consortium, is that what it's called? And their main update was that they performed the point-in-time census on January 29th. It's the homeless census for Butte County, and that data will be available late spring or early summer. So that's my update.
I also had a light month in January. Attended the special on the sewer, as well as on January 30th, the Explore Butte County meeting down in the BCAG meeting.
Woody?
You know, one of the benefits of turning 80 is I don't remember a whole lot. Well, I went to some meetings and I showed up, so that's, you know, catch me next month. I'll try to write things down.
So I had the, I think it's the City Select meeting in Orville. I've had a lot of Zoom meetings with LA and Altadena over our fires. I think they've been really good meetings, and I think that I know the town's been involved with a lot of them too, and I think we're making a lot of progress and giving them a lot of hope. I've done a lot of LA station news. We've had two news medias here. One was CBS LA, and they were here yesterday and today. And we had Spectrum doing an LA story, and they spent the majority of the day with Colette and I, and toured the town, and they sent a link for it, and they just did a wonderful story. It was Giselle Fernandez, and it really, as well as helping LA, I think it really painted Paradise in a real positive light. And I think it was a real well-done thing. Heidi mentioned the neighbor-to-neighbor and the painting. I can't draw a straight line, so I haven't participated in that, but my wife has gone to several, and she's really enjoyed them. So that's what I've got. Any future agenda items? Okay, hearing none. Staff communication, town manager report.
I have no additional report this evening.
Okay. Community development report. Thank you, Susan.
All right, good evening. Just a quick update on some development activities happening in town. In case you didn't see, the new Five Below store up at the old Kmart is open now. We have also been in discussion with and received initial applications from CCCS, Charter School over by Sport Haven on Upper Pence, right? Because they bought some additional property and are looking to expand their campus and give them a capacity of an additional 170 students. That would bring them up to 400. So they're getting started with all their septic approvals right now. Then we'll go through and get their use permits modified and stuff for that. Rock House, the one right behind them, multi-acred piece, yeah. We also took in a new building application for Ridge Auto Sales. If you recall, there was an automotive sales place across from Paradise Elementary on Pearson, right next to Susie Lane. So yeah, exactly. So yeah, it was something like that, right? Yeah. So this is an application to replace that sales office in the back and to bring back auto sales at that property. So great for that. Country Club Market, we finally got all their resubmittals approved, and they're ready to issue as soon as they're ready to send a contractor in for that. That's at Pence and Stearns, that convenience store. Look, it's going to look great. And then we've issued, yes, gas station will be part of, yep, that. We issued permits for some improvements for Skyway Liquor. It's the same owner as the True Value in the Holiday Market, right? It's just the other portion of Holiday. So if you drive by, you'll see they're punching some windows in on that side. So that's what's happening, liquor store. We also issued building permits to Gold Nugget Museum to do their interior remodel, to remodel it from being automotive repair to being a museum. So that should be moving forward. And I'm sure you've seen the Cypress Apartments, right? So those are trucking right along. Those are 70 units. They're still trying to get the funding in place for the senior 70. They don't have the tax credits yet for that, but we're trying to help them with that. And then we also have the affordable senior apartments on Pence Road, Upper Pence, corner of Kingdom. That's 21 units, and they're getting much closer to being final. So I think those will be next to come online. And we're still working with the multifamily development that's supposed to go across from the post office. That was 72 units of family, same thing, tax credits. So we keep filling out the paperwork for them to keep reapplying for that, so hopefully. Next week's planning commission. So all they've got on their docket is a residential lot split. It was going to be a subdivision before the fire, and they just kind of, regrouped, and they just want to do just a parcel split instead. And then every year, we have to run implementation status updates for the general plan and for the housing element. We run that through the commission. It comes to you guys on consent, and then we ship it off to the state. It's just reporting. So commission will look at it next week. And then for town projects, animal control is trucking along. They're looking to pour the parking lot this week and to do the solar install and the epoxy flooring for next week. Station 82, it had some tree damage to it, but that's all done now. So that one's all buttoned up. And then we're hoping to be able to, do kickoff for the mechanics fleet shop repairs, in a couple months or a couple weeks out. So that's where we sit on those projects. Yes.
What about the they're working on it?
Yeah.
The car wash.
Yes, they had a building permit issued to them to replace those trusses, at least, yeah. And there's just, yeah.
Put a roof on it and they're.
Yeah, they're long-standing permits, but they're finally taking action, so yay. But that's a good question.
Somebody talked to the workers there, and they said, no, this is all we're doing.
Yeah. We haven't heard anything current yet. Just an overall desire for a car wash somewhere in town. Yeah, I agree with you.
I think I saw on Facebook that development on Cypress was scheduling like an open house here coming up.
Exciting.
That the Cypress
The family
development.
apartments?
Yeah, because they still had vacancies and they were going to offer,
awesome.
some more information at the open house. So
All right, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Well, thank you, everyone, for coming. Meeting adjourned.